Do you ever feel like hiding out, or do you find yourself holding yourself back out of a fear of being found out of a fear of being an imposter, out of a fear of who am I to do this, or I'm not good enough? That ends today, my friend. That ends today. You are in the right place, because today we are talking about how to overcome imposter syndrome so that you can create the income and business that you truly deserve and are so capable of having. So if we haven't met, my name's Christine McAllister. I'm the founder of Life with Passion, and I help high achieving women to replace their incomes so that they can quit or stay out of the 9-to-5 world for good, and then scale beyond that to create a business and life they truly love, a life with passion. So this video and this topic is by request. You all have requested that I talk to you about imposter syndrome. So thank you for the request. I am answering that request with today's training. Yes, please say hello if you're watching live or on the replay so that I can say hi back. Hi, Jackie. Great to see you. So I want to know from you, as we dive into talking about imposter syndrome, we're going to define it. We're going to talk about who suffers with it and also, of course, what to do about it. But I first want to know from you, have you ever thought, I'm afraid someone's going to ask me a question or they're going to ask me for something that I don't know the answer to or I don't know how to do? I'm afraid that I'm going to be found out. I'm afraid that I'm going to be discovered as a fraud or an imposter. Have you ever felt that way? Let me know, because girl, I have. I have. We're going to talk about some of the specific ways that imposter syndrome has shown up for me on this journey, the ways that it still shows up on this journey, because listen, every time you go to a new level in business, every time you set out to reach a different big new goal, some of this same stuff that happened before pops up as well. And I'm the same as you in that way. And I'm here to tell you, you can still have a successful business, even if you deal with imposter syndrome. I'm living proof of that. I'm not one of those people who is like, you know, inherently like super overconfident and popular my whole life. By no means. I was the nerd. I was the good kid. I was the nice kid. But doing this work and talking about the ways to overcome imposter syndrome that we are going to discuss today, those are the things that can take you from nice to fabulous and loving your life and living a life with passion. Holly says, this topic is so real. I struggle with this often and it holds me back. Yes, thank you for sharing that, Holly. I appreciate you being so open about it. I'd love to hear from you all in the comments. In what ways do you all find that imposter syndrome holds you back? Like, what do you find it holding you back from? And I'll share some of mine as well. All right. So we've identified imposter syndrome. We know that if you're watching this, you probably identify with this, deal with it in some way. Maybe it shows up for you in this whole idea of, I'm afraid someone's going to ask me a question I don't know the answer to. I know I've felt that way before. I know I did, especially at the beginning of this business. I know I felt that way in my online marketing business as well, because online marketing is a huge thing, right? And it's impossible to know everything. And then even if you did, it would change in a second. And I know that a lot of my clients feel this way when they're getting their first clients, or they're going to a new level, or they've raised their prices or whatever. And it often keeps us from reaching out to potential customers because we're afraid we can't help them or do a good enough job for them. It keeps us from getting on calls. It keeps us from following up, and even keeps us from making offers about what we have to sell. That would help us book clients, right? And get visible in that way. Now, Wikipedia, very scholarly journal, but we'll get there in a second, I promise. Wikipedia defines imposter syndrome this way: individuals who are marked by an inability to internalize their accomplishments and a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. I'm going to say that again. Individuals who are marked by an inability to internalize their accomplishments, right? Reflecting, wow, that is really awesome. I am really awesome. and a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. People are going to find me out, right? You guys let me know. I'm going to take a 5-second break to go bring my dog in, who's barking incessantly at the something that he sees somewhere in this beautiful view I'm looking at. And I want you guys to let me know if you identify with the Wikipedia version. Then I'm going to come back and share with you the Harvard Business Review definition. 5 seconds. Find me. Pogo. You got to cool it. Come. How dare the neighbors be outside on such a beautiful day? Pogo is out to be the fun crusher. Okay, so the Harvard Business Review, which is very interesting to me, that Harvard Business Review has multiple articles on imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about why in a second. Harvard Business Review, okay? An article on the Harvard Business Review defines imposter syndrome as a collection of feelings of inadequacy that persist despite evident success. How good is that? A collection of feelings of inadequacy that persist despite evident success. Evident success. You all have already achieved success in areas in your life, right? This is why I talk about the creating yourself a confidence resume, right? This is why, all of us identify as high achievers, right? But we still have a collection of feelings of inadequacy that persist despite evident success, that despite other things that we've achieved, things we've achieved in our lives, we're still telling ourselves, oh, that's not good enough. Oh, I'm not good enough to get to the next level because of X, Y, Z, right? Imposters suffer, it says, from chronic self-doubt and a sense of intellectual fraudulence. This is the Harvard Business Review after all, that override any feelings of success or external proof of their competence. You know you're competent. Everybody around you knows you're capable, right? But internally, you suffer from chronic self-doubt and a sense of intellectual fraudulence that overrides any feelings of success or external proof of your competence. We seem unable to internalize our accomplishments, however successful we are in our field, right? High achieving, highly successful people often suffer. So imposter syndrome doesn't equate with low self-esteem or a lack of self-confidence. In fact, some researchers have linked it with perfectionism, ding, 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 especially in women and among academics. I happen to be both those things, right? Having been a professor, worked in higher ed for a long time. Okay, so here's the deal. The reason Harvard Business Review has multiple articles about this is because high-achieving, highly successful people often suffer. And those are the people who are reading the Harvard Business Review, right? So, you're in good company. You got to know that first. It's just like a lack of confidence. It's not a character flaw. It is not an innate trait, meaning that you cannot be successful. He is out of control today. Pogo! Pogo! How dare someone ring the doorbell? Oh my gosh. You guys, it's obviously important that I be here with you because I keep getting attempts at thwarting me. Okay, so let me know in the comments like what part of that you resonate with, all right? So we've defined imposter syndrome according to Wikipedia and according to the Harvard Business Review. Now, I want to talk about some of the ways that this has shown up for me because I think it's going to be really helpful for you to know how not alone you are and that you can still build a 6-figure business dealing with imposter syndrome. So definitely in the beginning, I was really attached to what results I thought that I needed to help my clients get, and was afraid that I wasn't going to be capable of helping them get those, right? That I would be found out in some way, right? Even though I had been doing this type of work unofficially for a long time, there's something very different about asking someone to pay you for it, right? And to call yourself an expert. And I think a lot of times people feel like they need to get one more certification or get another degree or XYZ thing, because then that's going to make them feel like they don't have imposter syndrome anymore. That's going to be the thing that helps them feel like the professional, you know, that they imagine feeling. Or maybe it's like having the perfect website, or, you know, not having better pictures or a better, more professional this or that. Like, those external things are never going to solve imposter syndrome for you, but we'll talk about what will. So in the beginning of my business, it was a lot of that. Oh my gosh, Joanne says my dog Thor just perked up when he heard Pogo. He was about to bark back. Amazing. I love it. So yes, imposter syndrome. You do not like it shows up in different ways at different stages of business. So another way that it showed up for me big time last year was when I appeared on the Entrepreneurs on Fire podcast. Oh man, it reared its ugly head in such a big way for me. Okay. I had prepared so much ahead of time for this interview. I had practiced, I had rehearsed, I had triple checked all the tech. Like, my husband, who is in IT, was actually like moved everything around so that I was in like the best room for the best audio possible. And like I could hardwire in because, you know, we didn't want anything to happen with the connection. Oh my gosh. Right. So I prepared to the utmost and I still got surprised, but it's not a bad thing. Here's why. When I appeared on this interview after prepping for weeks and I had the answers to all the questions he was supposed to ask me in front of me, you know, all my little script all ready. I prepared ahead of time. But within 2 minutes of the start of this interview, the host, John Lee Dumas, threw this total curveball question at me that made me literally start sweating. He is typically very regimented, very scheduled. This time he went off script and I completely froze up. I had just proudly, you know, shared my success rate of helping over 70% of my clients who came to me in jobs to quit their jobs. And he immediately responded, well, let's talk about that 30%. Why do you think that 3 out of every 10 are failing, even though you're essentially giving them that path to greatness? I absolutely froze. Like, I blanked. And of course, I started sweating. In my mind, oh my gosh, imposter syndrome flared all its symptoms up, right then and there. I felt like what I did was stutter for 30 seconds and then completely inanely respond with something ridiculous, like some dumb reason or excuse, you know, at a mumble, and pretty much like slinked, you know, back into the corner out of embarrassment. So at the end of the episode, I mean, we went on, I managed to like compose myself enough, right? Like to get through the end of the episode, but then I had no idea if it was any good or not. So for 2 months, I waited and worried and beat myself up about it because he records 2 months out. So for 2 months, I sat on this thing thinking that like this whole new world, you know, he has over 1.5 million listens a month. I think that's right. I was sure that this whole community was going to listen to 2 minutes, decide I was stupid, and like call me ridiculous and a failure, right? On the day the interview came out, I couldn't even make myself listen to it until that night when I poured myself a glass of wine, liquid courage, and I was like, all right, we're doing this. I think I had to pick up the phone and tell someone like, I'm going to listen. I haven't listened and I need to listen. I just need to get through it, right? And find out how bad it is. When I got to the dreaded moment, 2 minutes in, just like this, right? I couldn't even tell. I couldn't hear it in my voice, and it's my voice, right? I was like, wait, where was that thing that I was convinced was so horrible, right? The horror was all in my head. Here is why it's okay when stuff like that happens. Because the most important thing is not that you are perfect and not that you have all the answers, because even when you think you do, you're still going to get surprised, case in point, but that you show up. That you show up. And showing up does not mean comparing yourself to everyone and beating yourself up and finding yourself wanting. Showing up means recognizing that you deal with imposter syndrome and getting aware of it. That is the first step to overcoming imposter syndrome so that you can create the income and the business that you deserve. Showing up and becoming aware of it. So you're watching this, you're probably aware that you have imposter syndrome. Congratulations. You've already done the first step to overcome it. I want to look at these comments here. Hi, Donine. Hi. Holly says, I feel that it doesn't allow me to open up and offer up to my true potential because I may not be a pro, even though I have so much to offer. Oh my gosh. Yes, Holly. Yes. Because that next level, right? Like that next level is where, you know, your brain's telling you like, you might be found out, like that you're not really a pro, right? Yeah. I know Pogo's totally insane. Donine says, I have episodes of these feelings. It's not constant. I can get triggered. Yeah, I think that's great to notice. Donine, thank you for sharing that. So you guys let me know in the comments what of this you can relate to. And also, like, yay for awareness being the first step to change, right? To overcome it. Another way that this has shown up for me is in the process of writing this book. I was talking to someone else in the industry today, a friend, and he is getting ready to release his first book. And so we're like kind of talking about the process and what it's been like. He's been working on his for 2 years. I've been working on mine for over a year. It'll be a year and a half by the time it comes out, which if you're watching this live is the end of April. Woohoo! And I said to him, even though I don't swear very often, I said, there is no mind F like writing a book. You know, I mean, it just brings up all your stuff, at least for me and for a lot of the people that I've talked to. And so like, you want to talk about imposter syndrome, things like, who am I to write a book? What could I say that hasn't already been said? What if I get terrible negative reviews? What if people like research me and find out that I'm not XYZ or, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like, what if they expose me as a fraud, right? Because I wrote a book and now I'm, you know, that's what creates you as an expert in something, like in the minds of a lot of people. But like, what if I'm found out as an imposter, as a fraud, right? So the point is, if you have this at every level of business, anytime you try to do something new, it's likely that it's going to show up. And I share that because I want you to know that does mean it's not possible to have a successful business that's deeply fulfilling and living out of your zone of genius, because I'm living proof of that. And that's why we've got to have this conversation, because it is not an excuse not to do what you're called and created to do and to have what you desire and what you deserve. So what's the second step? Once you're aware that you have imposter syndrome, what's the second step to overcoming it, to overcoming imposter syndrome? This, according to the Harvard Business Review, again, seek support. Seek support. Everyone needs help, it says. Recognize that you can seek assistance and that you don't have to do everything alone. This will give you a good reality check and help you move through it. Help you move through it and beyond it at every level of your business. If you keep this inside of you, physically, inside of you and in your head, it is only going to grow. Once you get support from somebody to help you bust it down, then that's when things really start to shift. Then that's when you get visible. You get visible consistently. You get the clients, you get the customers, you get the money. You take the big leaps. You move toward what you desire rather than staying stuck and feeling away from it and knowing you're not living into your true potential because you're afraid of being found out as a fraud, right? Now, if you want my help with this, the Clarity, Confidence, and Clients half-day intensive is a great fit for this. It's a great fit for this. You and me on Zoom, going back and forth, 3 hours, 3 months worth of results. 3 hours of your day, of your week, of your month to get you 3 months worth of results in terms of your clarity, in terms of your confidence in overcoming this imposter syndrome, and in terms of your ability to get clients, because we're going to get real deep on your packages and your pricing if that's what you want, or your messaging and your visibility and a plan for those things, how to get clients. One-on-one, you and me. That is the power of just 3 hours together with me. The women who do these always walk away with like mind-blowing clarity, clear plan, and results. So if you want to know more about that intensive and if it's a good fit, we can get on a phone call and we can chat about it. Like if it's a good fit for you and your business, because I am so passionate about offering these. I offer them on the weekends as well, because I know the power that they have for people. I know the results that they help people get. I know they get 3 months worth of results in their business in just 3 hours. That's the power of this container that I've created to help you overcome imposter syndrome so that you can get the income, the money, and the business that you deserve. The clarity, confidence, and clients intensive with me. I'm going to put the link to book a call to talk about it in the comments when we're done. But what I'd love to hear from you all is, what questions do you have about imposter syndrome or the clarity, confidence, and clients intensive? I have just a couple spots available for that right now. And so if you're interested, I encourage you to reach out about that, because it's a really, really great way to overcome imposter syndrome now that you're aware of it. And you know that the second step to overcoming it is to seek support. If my support's something that you would like, I would be honored to help you with that, because I know that you guys have the ability to overcome this and to move forward in your life and in your business. Every single one of you do. That's why you're here. That's your desire. That's why you're here. I want to help you do that if you're resonating with this. Holly, what's the intensive price? Great question, Holly. The intensive is $9.97. It also comes with a week of follow-up email support afterward, so that you can anything that you forgot or want to ask about, you get to have me as your coach 24/7 for the following week. So that's my bonus gift to you, because I want to make sure everything is integrated. I also record it, put it up on a private YouTube link for you so that you can go back and listen to different parts. And I take notes for you so that you can be fully present, and we capture everything. You walk away with a really clear, like, bulleted list of, like, here are the to-dos, here's the exact schedule we're going to do them, right? Here is the mindset pieces and how we're going to strengthen those, right? Because a lot of times we think it's just strategy, but it's never just strategy. It's definitely mindset as well, which imposter syndrome is a huge part of. Yeah, so $9.97 for all of that, 3 months worth of results in 3 hours. It's a great thing to do if you're looking to kick butt really fast, take action, and get some really fast results. Totally. Awesome. What other questions do you guys have about imposter syndrome? What do you want to know? Or do you want to call yourself out and say, like, this is how it shows up for me. This is how it shows up for me, and I'm committed to changing that. I'm committed to getting support, and here are the ways I'm lining up to do that. Sometimes it's just a willingness to get support and to be supported, because I think as high achievers, a lot of times we're also super independent. I don't know about you, but I know I used to tell myself this story of, like, if I believe that I'm smart, and so because I believe that I'm smart and I'm independent, I have to prove to myself that I'm smart and independent by figuring this all out on my own and figuring it out for free. And I did that for a lot of years. It did not get me where I wanted to go. I was not living and working at the level I knew I was capable of out of my zone of genius, because I was unwilling to ask for help other than reading books that I got for free from the library. And yes, I love reading. Oh my gosh, I love reading. Like, spend time reading with my baby every day. I read for myself. Like, I'm a huge reader. But what reading didn't do for me was help me see things reflected back to me through a different lens, because I was constantly taking it in through my own lens. Do you know what I mean? Like I wasn't interacting with another human who was like, oh gosh, yeah, Christine, I really noticed that this is a pattern that you do. And you probably don't even notice it, but like, you know, you telling me this story and that story and like seeing what's going on in your business, this is a total pattern. Getting outside of your own jar, right? Because when you're in the jar, you can't read the label. And so it wasn't until I was open myself up to investing in myself and getting that real, honest feedback from somebody who totally like had my number and wasn't afraid to call me on my stuff, that I was able to up level, that I was able to move through the imposter syndrome, that I was able to truly start to rise to the level of greatness that like I had dreamed of and had known I was meant for since I was a little girl. So that's my story around it. That's why I believe so passionately in it. And that's why I'm super congruent in it as well, right? Like I would never ask you guys to do something that I haven't been willing to do myself. And that's my story around it. So imposter syndrome. I want more for you. I want better for you. So if you want to know more, I will post the link to book a call with me as soon as we're done here. But I thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me live or on the replay. I appreciate you all so much. Let me know what questions you have in the comments below. And here is to kicking your imposter syndrome out of the driver's seat, placing you and your desires and what you deserve firmly in that driver's seat, and moving forward from there. Moving forward from there toward your dreams. Thanks for joining me. Have an awesome day. Now that you're aware of your imposter syndrome, find ways to get support around it so that you don't have to be held back by this all too pervasive syndrome among high achievers anymore. Let's banish it, right? Let's banish it in this community. Let's not let it continue to keep controlling us. Let's show up as the pros that we are in our field. Let's own it. Let's get support. Let's support each other. If I can help you, that would be my honor. And let's eradicate imposter syndrome. Cheers! With my organic green jasmine tea and my raw honey. I'll talk to you soon.